Katham.
Jneyasi niyatatmabi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Lata Mataji, can you do the word to word?
Yes, Mataji. Adiyagnya,
Adiyagna,
the Lord of sacrifice.
the
The
Lord
Lord
of
of
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
Kadam,
Katham,
Katham.
how,
how,
ka,
ka,
who,
who,
Who.
adra,
atra,
here,
here,
Here.
dehe,
they,
Dehe.
in the body,
in the body.
asmin,
Asmin,
this,
this,
This.
Madhusudana,
Madhusudana,
Madhusudana.
O Madhusudana,
O
O
Madhusudana,
Madhusudana.
Madhusudana.
Prayanakale,
Prayanakale.
Kale.
at the time of death,
The
At
time
the
of
time
death.
of death.
cha,
Cha.
and
And.
kadam,
Katham.
Katham.
how,
how,
How.
asi,
Niyasi.
you can be known,
you can be known.
niyatampi, niyatampihi,
Niyatam,
Bihi.
by the self-controlled.
by the
At the
self-control.
self-control.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Ravi Prabhuji, are you able to read the translation, Prabhuji? And then we can follow you. Ravi Prabhuji? Okay, I guess Ravi Prabhuji is a little bit, yeah, he's been able to unmute. Just the translation, Prabhuji. Text 2, chapter 8.
Just
Who is
bear
the
with me,
Lord of
please.
sacrifice? Prabhuji, are you there?
Hare Krishna, sorry, I'm here.
Okay. So text 2, chapter 8.
Yeah, I'm on chapter 8 and
Just
bit
the
far
translation.
away.
Who is
Yeah.
the Lord of sacrifice?
Lord of sacrifice may refer to either Indra or Vishnu.
Prabhuji,
Vishnu is-
Prabhuji, not the purport, just the translation. Then after
Oh, sorry,
that,
yeah.
you can read
Yeah,
the purport.
sorry.
Translation first.
Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body? O Madhusadan. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death?
Thank you, Prabhuji. I will
Thank you.
read the translation again, and then we can all repeat. Who is the Lord of sacrifice?
Who is the Lord of sacrifice?
Lord of sacrifice,
And how does he live in the body?
And how does he live in the body?
in the body,
O Madhusudana.
O Madhusudana.
And how can those engaged in devotional service
And how can those engaged in devotional service
devotional service,
know you at the time of death?
know you at the time of death?
time of death?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Ravi Prabhuji, would you like to read the purport as well?
Yeah, I can. Well, I can read the first paragraph and somebody else can take it.
Okay,
over,
then
yeah?
Prahlad will help you with the second paragraph.
Sure. Yeah. Lord of sacrifice may refer to either Indra or Vishnu. Vishnu is the chief of the primeval demigods, including Brahma and Shiva, and Indra is the chief of the administrative demigods. Both Indra and Vishnu are worshipped by yajna performances. But here Arjun asks, who is actually the Lord of Yajna, and how the Lord is residing within the body of the living entity. Arjuna addresses the Lord as Madhusudan because Krishna once killed a demon named Madhu. Actually, these questions, which are the nature of doubt, should not have arisen in the mind of Arjun because Arjun is a Krishna conscious devotee. Therefore, these doubts are like demons. Since Krishna is so expert in killing demons, Arjun here addresses him as Madhusudan, so that Krishna might kill the demonic doubts that arise in Arjun's mind.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Prahlad, kindly continue. Now the word.
Now the word prayana kale in this verse is very significant because whatever we do in life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna is very anxious to know of those who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. What would be their position at that final moment? At the time of death, all the bodily functions are disrupted and the mind is not in a proper condition. Thus disturbed by the bodily situation, one may not be able to remember the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Kulashekara, a great devotee, prays, "My dear Lord, just now I am quite healthy, and it is better that I die immediately so that the swan of my mind can seek entrance at the stem of your lotus feet." The metaphor is used because the swan, a bird of water, takes pleasure in digging into the lotus flowers. Its sportingly proclivity is to enter the lotus flower. Maharaj Kulashekar says to the Lord, "Now my mind is undisturbed and I am quite healthy. If I die immediately thinking of your lotus feet, then I am sure that my performance of your devotional service will become perfect. But if I have to wait for my natural death, then I do not know what will happen, because at that time the bodily functions will be disrupted. My throat will be choked up, and I don't know whether I shall be able to chant your name. Better let me die immediately." Arjuna questions how a person can fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet at such a time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prahlad. We now go on to reflections. Before we go on to reflections, let me again welcome Avinash Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we welcomed you in your absence because we started. So for today, our mentor is Avinash Prabhuji. He's joining us all the way from London. Prabhuji, welcome to the group and thank you for being our mentor for today. As you have seen, we've read the text 2 and translation and purport. And now we'll go on to reflections. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody from this group.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prahlad. Any reflections? What I found very interesting is I didn't know that the swan likes to go into the lotus. So that is really a good analogy that we should be dipping ourselves in the lotus feet of the Lord, like how Maharaj Kulashekara mentioned. So this is something that I'm learning today. So this is good. And Madhusudana is name of Krishna when he kills the demon. So Arjuna's doubts are the demons at the present. So that is why Arjuna is referring to him as Madhusudana. Any more? Yes, Richa Mataji, your hand is up.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The one thing that I found really interesting is that so many people have this one question in their mind, that why is Arjuna asking all the questions? Arjuna is meant to be perfect. They all actually misunderstand the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna, because Arjuna is first a devotee. Second of all, he's a very dear friend of Krishna. And third, he's even a far cousin. I think the sister's son, something like that. Arjuna is sister's son. So many people misunderstand that why is Arjuna asking all these questions. In paragraph, it is clearly said that Arjuna is Krishna conscious devotee, but he is being made thought like that for people like us. And it clearly shows that the thought which are not related to Krishna or which do not have Krishna as the center are all the demonic thoughts, which all the wrong thoughts that we think throughout our day and the demons that Krishna used to kill. So, through this, it shows that one main reason why one person should adapt to Krishna consciousness and should listen to Krishna is because of the demonic thoughts that lead one person to the destruction. That is what my basic understanding was, and I felt really nice um, about this particular shloka. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Richa Mataji, for sharing your realizations. Anybody more to add on to this? Milita Parag Prabhuji, thank you for joining the group. I've not been able to acknowledge you. I know you have been joining so regularly. Thank you for joining. Your mic is not on, so I'm sure you can't respond to us, but we would like to acknowledge your presence. Any more contribution?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, Prahlad.
Okay, like I've noted that we are all learning this process. So if you notice through the previous chapters, what we have been learning, we learned in chapter 3 about karma yoga, in chapter 4 about the transcendental knowledge that we were introduced to. Then in chapter 5, we learned about action and inaction. Then chapter 6, we were finally taught about dhyana yoga. And now chapter 7, we were introduced to the knowledge of the absolute and learning how Krishna is, and learning and finding out that he is the supreme truth. He is, the cause of all causes, and he is, supreme, and that he is knowledge itself. So now we are learning about attaining the supreme. So now we, in this material platform, are stuck in a body. Our souls are stuck in a sort of cage, and this is the body itself. So now we are trying to learn here how to attain the supreme, which is to go back to Godhead and back to Krishna himself through the path of Krishna consciousness. Now, in order to break free of this body, of course, death has to be involved in order for the soul to get out of the body itself. So now we are introduced to Arjun's doubt on how someone who is, practicing yoga or is in this process of Krishna consciousness and is really trying to fixate their mind upon Krishna himself, how can a person like that really be still engaged or still, think about him at the time of death? Because it's nearly impossible. We are told here that the body becomes disrupted, and we were told yesterday, I believe, by Madan Gopal Prabhu on, different things. Like he gave the example of that person, like at his last moment, he called his son, and then he said, what is the price of tires?
Yes.
So, the body becomes disrupted. Sometimes people, like here we are told about Maharaj Kulashekara, who said that his throat will be choked up and he will not know whether he'll be able to chant his name. So the same thing might happen. We might never know what's going through our mind, because many things could be going on at that time. Like also with the way Madan Gopal Prabhu said that, our life flashes before our own eyes. So we never know what thoughts will come into our mind that we will try and put Krishna on the top. There will very many, like maybe a rare case would be there of a person who has really gone through a lot of births and is still in the process of Krishna consciousness. Like we had discussed in the previous chapters, that even if one has not done enough in their path of Krishna consciousness, they still come back and become better at it. So the same way, we may finish the Bhagavad Gita and may stop halfway in the Bhagavatam because it's very lengthy, and we may not probably have enough knowledge, or we may think that we don't have enough knowledge, but in our next lifetime we will come back and we will improve ourselves. Like you'll find maybe in this lifetime you are just chanting rounds and doing kirtan, but you were not reading the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. But now in the next lifetime, you come back and you do everything. Now you read, you chant, and you as well do kirtan, you know. So it takes a process. So maybe someone who is at a higher level in this stage of Krishna consciousness and who has come in many births and deaths, perhaps I would consider them to have actually made an attempt or been there, like to think about Krishna only. But otherwise, for many of us, it may be very difficult to think what's going to happen, or what's going into what was going through our mind and say what's coming out. Like for example, if I was passing and I am on my deathbed, perhaps I will say, I have left for you this, son, I have left for you this and this. But I leave my body at that time when I was talking about property instead of Krishna. So many things go into our mind. So this is Arjuna's main question. How can someone who is fully engaged in your devotional service think of you even at the time of death? Because we are told here that the mind is not in a proper condition and the bodily functions are disrupted. And we were also told here by Maharaj Kulashekara that he would rather die immediately so that, you know, these thoughts do not come inside of his mind. So, you know, so that he just fixates upon Krishna, you know, at his moment of death. So we were given the example of the swan. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Prahlad. Any more realizations before I hand over to Prabhuji? Prabhuji, I think we have exhausted all our realizations and questions. We are looking forward to your commentary and your acronym for chapter 8, Prabhuji.
Okay. We start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so yeah, it was nice realization from all of you, and Prahlad with always the long realization, which is quite good. So I just wanted to remind, yesterday we basically covered the summary of chapter 8. And slok 1 was to do with Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord or Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are the fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Yeah, please explain this to me." So actually Arjuna addressed Krishna as Purushottam. Purushottam is Uttama Purush. Yeah, Purushottam means there are three kinds of Purush. Purush means male or enjoyer. So Uttama Purush, there is three kinds. So Uttama Purush, Madhyam Purush, and Adama Purush, three kinds. Adama Purush means the lowest. We are also Purush, yeah. So at least we have taken that position of Purush to enjoy this material world, yeah. So this is what we have done. So at least we have taken this position. So we are actually Adama Purush. We cannot enjoy independently, and we require so many favorable circumstances. So just an example. So we can see we cannot see without sunrise. Can anyone see without sunrise? I doubt it. So still we are very proud of seeing. We say, can you show me God? Well, can you see God? We say. So you cannot see without sunshine. And still you are proud of your eyes. So we say we are proud of our eyes and we can't see God. So this is called Adama. Yeah. He who has no knowledge, but still is accepting a PhD, for instance, somebody saying, okay, I have no knowledge, but I'm still accepting a PhD degree and getting a Nobel Prize, then actually what's the worth of getting that Nobel Prize when you don't have actual knowledge of the Supreme? So Krishna is the Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. And Madhyam Purush is the super soul. And via that media, it's Krishna and us. So that's what's between that. So we are actually the lowest, yeah, which is Adama Purusha. So then on that slok is Adi Bhutam is mentioned, is that. Adi Bhutam and Adi Devam, yeah, in that first slok. The Adi Bhutam is the 5 elements of the matter. So you know the 5 elements of the matter, we've gone through them, which is earth, fire, air, ether, earth, fire, air, ether, and what else? There's something. Okay, so 5 elements. Then Adidevam. Adidevam is mentioned in there, which is water. Those are the demigods. And we covered the demigods in our previous chapter. You saw in the last chapter, the last bit was talked about Adidevam, which is demigods. According to the astral influence, we act. Therefore, a horoscope is made. At the time of birth, a person's situation according to different astral influences is certain so that an astrologer can make his horoscope about his future activities and future hopes. So this is something to do with according to our astral influence. So we act according to what at the time of birth and person, according to different astral influence. So coming to today's slok is Adi Yagnam. Yeah, today is Adi Yagnam is mentioned in here. So Adi Yagnam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan or Vishnu, Katam Kotryo Dehi Min Madhusudana. So where is this Adi Yagna? Yeah, super soul living within the body. So, and then we go on to say Prayaka Kale Cha Katham Neyo Si Niyatat Mabi. Yeah. Neo Si. So how do the yogis or the devotees meditate upon you? And at the time of death, Prayana Kale, how do they pass away? This is the question. This is the question on this slok. So on this slok, I will just go where I think quite a lot has been covered, but I was planning to do my presentation, not presentation, but to just share my Word document on the screen, but I couldn't log on through my computer somehow today because it was somehow restricting me to just, it was letting me put in the first 6, but it wasn't letting me put the P after that. So I don't know, there was something wrong with some technical difficulties with my computer. So I'll just go into chapter 8. So we know Arjun first inquired about the 6 terms Krishna used at the end of chapter 7. So those were the 6 terms actually been asked in the first text. And those 6 items were Brahma, Adhyatma, Karma, Adhibhuta, Adhideva, and Adhiyagna. Yeah. Adhiyagna come in the second text. Yeah. Second text of this, which is this text. So text 1 to 4 in this chapter is the Krishna's answers to Arjuna's question and discusses yoga principles and pure devotional service. So in the verse 1 to 4, Krishna answers Arjun's first 7 questions, which is to do what is Brahma, what is Adhyatma, what is Karma, what is Adhibhuta, what is Adhideva, and what is Adhiyagna. So we are now on Adhiyagna, yeah. And the next chapter will discuss something else as well, yeah. So and up to text 4, which is text 4 talks about Adhibhuta and Adhiyagno again. So this is what the 7 topics which will be covered in the first to 4, text 1 to 4. So going on, I'll just go into the text 5 to 9. In these verses, Krishna answers the 8th question about the destination of one who thinks of Krishna at the time of death. Krishna explains that we must always think of him along with performing active devotional service. Such practice helps one to remember Krishna at the time of death and attain his nature and meditate on him. So that is in verse 9. So if verse 9 is actually even verse 9. Verse 9 is before that. Verse 5 actually is very important verse, which is Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavan yati nastya astra samsayaha. So it says, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So he's giving us the guarantee. So at the time, whoever at the end of life quits his body remembering me. So just looking at this text, Kulushekara, King Kulushekara actually is saying that, please, I am begging that you should take me now because I am remembering you now. I don't know what will happen to state of my mind when I'll be so old and I'll be suffering in pain and I can't remember you. So that is his prayers. So Kulushekara's prayers are like that. But that doesn't mean, I was listening to lecture sometimes ago, it doesn't mean that actually at the time of death, when you are actually in so much pain, you won't remember Krishna. That doesn't mean that. That means actually sometimes you have practiced all the way along chanting Krishna's name all the time. And when it comes to death, Krishna himself will remind you that you must remember me. So that is the point. You know, sometimes people have doubts, you know, what will happen to me? But if you have practiced throughout, and Krishna is so merciful that at the time of death, he will make you remember him. You'll forget everything, he'll make you remember him. Or you will have devotees beside you chanting his name constantly, and so you are so much engrossed to that. So that is something people shouldn't be worried about, because what we should worry about is what we are doing now, the present. We should be worried about our sadhana, constant sadhana, day and day, every day. If you have done something wrong yesterday in your sadhana, let me improve next day. Then let me improve. So gradually progress and improve. And that's what should be our motto, actually, to improve daily. Yeah. So that is on text 5 to 9. And text 10 to 13 is about Yoga Mishra Bhakti. A yogi can also attain Krishna by uttering Om and thinking of Krishna at that. Yeah. So Yoga Mishra Bhakti is described in 10 to 13. So it's talking about a yogi who remembers Krishna by chanting, uttering Om. And he can also attain the Vaikuntha planet. Then pure devotional service is mentioned in 14 to 16. So in text 14 to 16, Krishna urges Arjuna to engage in pure devotional service by remembering him without deviation. There is no impediment in such service, and one easily attains Krishna. So, and then on text 17 to 22, it is about comparing the material and the spiritual worlds. So the material world is miserable and temporary. We all know that it is miserable, because in this material world, you can't get away from death, old age, and disease. That is always there. As illustrated by the constant cycle of universal creation and destruction. By hearing this description, one gains detachment from this world. So when you hear that this is only temporary, you keep on chanting and you do your sadhana, detachment is very hard, but gradually it can come. You can, by practice, you can start detaching few things at a time, not everything. So if you like, sometimes people like tea, and by chanting, sometimes you give up the tea, and then that is one form of detachment. Yeah. Sometimes people like garlic and onion. This is austerity, but it is kind of detachment as well. Yeah. So that is comparing the material and spiritual world. So by hearing this description, one gains detachment from this world, as I said. In the verses 20 to 22, the eternal nature of the spiritual world is described, as well as the means to attain it, devotional service to Krishna. Okay. And then the final verses, which is 23 to 28, is a supremacy of devotion in attaining the Supreme. The Lord describes different ways of living this world for karmis and jnanis, but the Krishna's devotees need not to worry about these paths. So you don't need to worry about karma path or jnana path. As long as you are in a bhakti path, because by simply engaging in devotional service, you can attain beneficial results of all paths. And at the end of the Supreme, at the end, you reach the Supreme destination. So by hearing the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which is the Bhakti part, so this is from chapter 7 to chapter 12, in association of devotees, one gets benefits of performing all sacrifices, penance, and one progresses from anartha nivritti, which is anartha nivritti is bad habits, which is the stage where you get rid of your bad habits, to pure love of Krishna. Okay, so that is basically summary of this thing. But I will give you the acronyms because I know Kirtika Mataji said I will be giving you the acronym of this chapter. So acronym for this chapter actually is DEAD, D-E-A-D, yeah, DEAD. So is the acronym. But the summary, to summarize this chapter again, is the attaining the supreme is the sign of sanity and wisdom. If one takes time to contemplate their death, yeah, during special festivals, letting Americans hang skulls in their houses to remind themselves. Yogis in India meditate on the banks of Ganges where the open fire funeral are being conducted. Although many would consider it morbid to contemplate death, there is no doubt that it is an uncomfortable reality. Nobody wants it, but everyone has to face it. Death will surely come. There is 100% guarantee or 101% guarantee that death will be there. Yeah. So everyone has to face this. Bhagavad Gita outlines 4 such unavoidable predicaments: birth, disease, old age, and ultimate death. So in chapter 8, Krishna deals with the subject of death, how to prepare it, what happens at the fateful moment, and what lies beyond. Okay, so death is the acronym. So first 4 text 1 to 4, yeah, is talking about doubts. So if you remember doubts, it's talking about doubts. Doubt is the function of intelligence. So we are always doubting. It's function of our intelligence. And at no point in Bhagavad Gita does Krishna reprimand Arjuna for his numerous inquiries. Arjuna is always asking, so he's always doubting. Krishna welcomes the dialogue and encourages Arjuna to consider his answers and make his own decisions. This chapter begins with Arjuna's queries on several spiritual concepts. Krishna answers 7 of the Arjuna's 8 questions immediately and then prepares to answer final question. How can one attain spiritual destination at the time of death? The rest of the chapter is solely dedicated to answering this crucial inquiry. Okay, so that's 1 to 4, which Arjuna is asking and Krishna is answering. So Arjuna was asking about his doubts. Okay. Second is E. So D, then E. So DE. So E stands for end of life. So the second is where, like I already mentioned, Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. So, which is, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So if you see the 6, it says, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain me without fail. Yeah. So again, he says, whatever state. Text 7, he says, therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. And at the same time, carry your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Okay, so that's up to text 7. And text 8, he says, he who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O son of Partha, is sure to reach me. So this is end of life, what you should be thinking at the end of the life. So that is acronym E. All right. And when we go further, so So just going for E again, it is so just completing what I was trying to say here. Similarly, those who engage in worldly pursuit, hearing about, contemplating, and accepting the end, that is not the most inspiring reflection. It completely spoils the movie of the life. Yeah, in the here and now. For spiritualists, however, the thoughts of the end being neither fear nor depression. So the spiritualist shouldn't fear the end. We shouldn't be fearing the death at all. Yeah, because we know that we are taken care of. Because you are always, if you are chant and your sadhana is pakka, you should think, oh Krishna, you shouldn't have a fear. Whatever Krishna you do, that's what should be. At the end of life, you say your prayer should be, Krishna, I am yours. Whatever you do, it's up to you. Whether you make me take birth in this, earth again, earthly planet, or wherever else, is up to you. You decide, and that should be our mood, actually, to leave it to Krishna. So Krishna explains in here how a person recollection at the death sum up their consciousness and aspirations cultivated throughout the life. Thus, one state of mind at that fateful hour determines the next life situation. For those who remember God at death, they reach the kingdom of God. Okay, so that is in the text up to 8. So we have covered D and E. Okay, A is to do with attaining the supreme, which is from text 9 to 22. So why one should desire entrance into spiritual realm? Well, this material world is simply temporary university designed to disperse life lessons, or not disperse, sorry, dispense life lessons. So experiencing the frustration and emptiness of material life, we begin looking for something beyond. So there is just a quote by one of the famous persons, C.S. Lewis, once said, if I find within myself a desire which no experience in this world can fulfill, I must conclude I was made of another world. So as spiritual being, life is an artificial world of matter, is an incompatible situation. While material world is rubber stamped as a constantly changing place of misery. So this is Dukhalayam Ashwasam. We know it's Dukhalayam Ashwasam. It is constantly changing place of misery. The spiritual world is distinguished as an eternal, all blissful abode. As we know, the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha. Yeah, Satchidananda. Sat means eternal. Chit means knowledge. Ananda means bliss. Yeah, so it's full of bliss. Yeah, all blissful abode. There are many painstaking ways in which spiritualists attempt to attain that supreme destination. And if they are indeed successful, they never return to this temporary world again. So that is acronym A. So if you remember A, B, do you all remember it? If I have to ask you. So first is D. What does D stands for?
Doubts.
Doubts. And E stands for?
End of life.
End of life, and that is 5 to 8. And then again A.
Somebody else can try. I know, but let somebody else try.
Anyone else?
Attaining the supreme.
Attaining the supreme. Okay, so And the final is acronym is D. Yeah, if you recall that, it's D. And D stands for the final one, which is the devotion. So devotion should be always there. Yeah, devotion. This is very important. Final D is devotion. So that is on the verse 23 to 28. So since various spiritual practices have been discussed in this chapter, Krishna concludes by outlining the most effective process to attain the Supreme, which is Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga, as you recall, is between the chapter 7 to 12. Yeah, it's all to do with Bhakti. The path of active service to Lord in a mood of devotion is described as the most evolved spiritual path. In the age of rampant materialism and temptation, coupled with individual weakness and spiritual apathy, a highly practical and powerful spiritual process is required. Through Bhakti Yoga, anyone can experience a tangible spiritual connection very quickly. If one can consistently and progressively saturate their consciousness in Krishna, they can remember him at time of passing and thus attain the supreme destination, regardless of all technicalities and details of other spiritual process. So remembering that I will be dead soon is the most important too. So you should be remembering all the time, death is just near, is near. I have ever encountered to help me make the big choice in life. Almost everything, all external expectation, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death. So just sometimes you think of what will happen, my pride, my this thing, my that, I am embarrassed, what these people are doing to me, everything, sometimes we worry about some things unnecessarily because that death is certain. And at that time of death, everything will disappear. Yeah. So leaving what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking that you have something to lose. Okay? So you are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. Yeah, that is according to Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs says that is the thing. There is no reason not to follow your heart. And your heart should be always with Krishna. So this is basically the summary of this as dead. And we covered slightly what text 2 covered and text 1 covered. So yeah, that is that. I can probably share this with you once once my computer is okay. I've shared the slides for the 1 to 4 to the Prabhu Ravi Bhai. Yeah, I've shared it. I don't know how to share it on the WhatsApp because I can only email it, but somebody with technical mind can always can share that as well.
Prabhuji, if you can send it to me on my email, I will try to share it on the group.
Okay.
I'll share my email with you.
Yeah. I hope whatever I say today, it made sense. And forgive me if I've made any mistakes in saying anything here. But yeah, if there is any further realization, comments or questions, I'm happy to answer them. But if I can't answer them, I can answer them by asking the higher, the spiritual people, and they can let me know the answers. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for taking us through the whole chapter 8. I think it is very important. Chapter 8, I've been told I haven't read it. This is my first time. So, and you gave us the various sections. So that's good. Prahlad, would you like to say something? Prahlad, would you like to conclude the session for today? Give a small
Yeah.
précis on what has been covered and thank Prabhuji after that.
Yes. I don't have much to say or to contribute, but I believe it was a wonderful session with various contributors, such as Richa Mataji, as well as yourself, Mataji, and Avinash Prabhu, who was our mentor. So I believe I have nothing to say. It was a wonderful session. Now I would like to thank Avinash Prabhu for being a mentor for us, on most of these days, and introducing us to various concepts, as well as giving us more enlightenment. Like on this path, I never even used some terminologies, but out of his guidance, as well as other mentors, I am now, getting to know these terminologies, and his acronyms are actually very much of help to us. So I would like to thank you, Avinash Prabhuji, for being our mentor for today. And I would like to conclude this session by all of us raising our hands up and unmuting ourselves and chanting the Maha Mantra once to glorify Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare Hare.
Avinash Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kirpa sindhubhayevascha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much,
Hare
Avinash Prabhuji. We
Thank
have
you.
finished on time today. Thank you.